This is a short story, Eyes Full of Tears, Olhos d'Água in Português, by Conceição Evaristo, which is the most moving story of motherly love ever told. Conceição Evaristo is a leading Afro-Brazilian writer of social critique. She was born in 1946 in Belo Horizonte and grew up in a favela. She earned degrees in letters, a master's in Brazilian literature, and a PhD in comparative literature. She is the author of novels, short stories, essays, and poetry. Her work centers on the experiences of Black women, a method she calls escribivencia, or in English, writing from lived experience. Olhos d'Água won the Jabuti Award in 2015. An Afro-Brazilian woman wakes up suddenly one night, disturbed by the sudden realization that she does not know the color of her mother's eyes. She feels guilty because she remembers many physical details about her mother, but not her eye color. That question haunts her for months while she is doing her daily tasks. The woman reflects on having left her home years earlier to seek a better life for herself. However, she remembers the events of her childhood in rural Minas Gerais. She is the oldest of 7 daughters that her mother reared alone. Poverty was inherited in her mother's life from a long history of intergenerational cycle of poverty shaped by race, gender, and structural inequality. Her mother grew up in the desert-like interior of Minas Gerais, where the poverty is extreme. She belongs to a lineage of Black women whose labor is undervalued. Her mother works constantly for little, washing and ironing other people's clothes, which traps her in economic hardship. She is a single mother, raising her children alone. Feeding, clothing, and caring for that many children alone makes survival extremely difficult. She remembers days when the pot on the fire held only water. On days when there was little or no food, she created a fantasy world to distract the children from the lack of food. She remembers how her mother would turn herself into a big black doll for the children to play with. The girls would play with her hair, discovering a wart they mistook for a tick. Her mother would make herself the queen to distract them from their hunger. She would sit on an old wooden chair as a throne. The children would bow, dance, and sing around her as if she were royalty. The children would gather flowers and place them on her hair, arms, and chest. These powerful acts of maternal love transformed hunger into play. This playful intimacy distracted them from their hunger and creates laughter strong enough to bring tears. She remembers her mother sitting at the doorway watching clouds and pointing to clouds shaped like animals or giants. She would pretend to reach up, grab a piece of cloud, and quickly place it in a child's mouth before it melted. This imaginary food would comfort them when real food was scarce. During storms, her mother feared the rickety shack would collapse on them. She remembers her mother's protective embrace during storms, when she held her children tightly to give them warmth and safety. She prays to Santa Barbara to protect them. The question about her mother's eyes becomes unbearable. She decides to take the long trip home to look into her mother's eyes again. After a long trip, she finally sees her mother again. When she looks up into her mother's eyes, she is surprised to see that while there is the customary smile on her mother's face, her eyes are full of tears. She embraces her mother and their tears mix. Her mother's tears overflow with love, which the woman describes as a voluminous flow of water on her face. Her mother's response to danger had been to pray to the Christian saint Santa Barbara for protection. However, the woman sees the overflow of her mother's tears as coming from Mamai Oshun, who is the Candomblé goddess of fresh waters. Candomblé, as a religion of memory, ancestry, and meaning, reveals to her the spiritual depth of her mother's suffering and love. Thus, the woman ultimately understands her mother through Mamai Oshun and not through the Catholic saint of her childhood. Jack shows a mother has almost nothing materially, but gives everything emotionally. She creates beauty, imagination, and emotional safety for her daughters. She transforms scarcity into imagination, fear into closeness, and suffering into shared tenderness. Back in her home, the woman starts a game with her daughter to discover the color of her daughter's eyes. Her daughter looked up and gently touched her mother's face and whispered, "Mom, what is the color of your moist eyes?" The daughter perceives what the mother could not as a child. A mother's eyes are not defined by pigment, but by the love they carry. The moistness of the woman's eyes signals that she now carries the same tears, the same love, pain, memory, and ancestral strength that once flowed from her mother, which completes the generational cycle. Thanks for watching.